Hello. It is the Easter time of year, at least for the Christians and Catholics among us. And I wanted to review a Blu-ray of a film that I think encapsulates that period nicely. Also, it gives me my yearly rewatch of why I should probably watch it at Easter, which is, of course, Godspell. Godspell, this actual copy I got from Lee Gambin, who was a huge fan of the film, to the point that I actually still have my original receipt, which is really funny. It's a bit faded, but I have it. I got it from Minotaur. It was a, as it says, special order. He imported it just for me. I could have done that myself, but I ended up getting it from him. So, of course, I want to talk about the film. I want to talk about special features, its audio, everything in a random, standard Blu-ray review, but there's also some extra stuff down just off the camera that I'm also going to show off as well. Because I've become a bit of a fan of this film in its own right. But at least packaging-wise, it's a pretty standard Blu-ray case. It is a, US standard size, so regular, slim case and everything. With the title, it is a Columbia Pictures release. Nice artwork. As an overall, I do like the original, that poster release that they utilized there. I think it's really fun. Nice kind of vibey effects with its hippie-ish, 70s approach, which is good. This is a 2020 release. As you see on the back there, it does have special features, including an audio commentary by Lee Gambin, as well as it says audio interviews with Stephen Schwartz, cast, and more. And there is a lot of special features. I was actually surprised by how much. There's basically an extra just over an hour. Actually, no, more than that. There's like almost 3 hours of special features. There's a lot of special features on this disc. So let's dive into it. Outside of its standard packaging, it is all regions, rated G. There you go. You get a 1080p high-definition picture, 185:1. Audio is English Mono DTS HD Master Audio. It comes up on my TV as a 2.0 track rather than a 1.0, but at the same time it's still a mono track, just in two different channels. And yeah, then you get English Standard, well, STH. It's a Standard Hard of Hearing. I can't remember what it actually stands for, but it has subtitles. It's 102 minutes long, and it has special features. So I've got other stuff I want to show first before we dive completely into it, because this is a film that's, because of my relationship to Lee, it has become a more noteworthy film. If those watching knew Lee, he adored the film, and when he passed away last year, back in 2024, I rewatched the film. I had seen it was one of the first films I knew of that he had done, commentary for, back when I had met him at Minotaur, and he went out of his way again, like I said, to order it in for me. Because why not, I could have done it myself, but it kind of meant it meant more just for him to get it, and I appreciate that more of my own. Just, gives me another reason to hang out with them or whatever. But I do have a CD copy. In fact, I actually have two CD copies. These are actually different versions because it was a off-Broadway, then Broadway musical, became a movie. It's a musical. It's a Broadway musical adapted for the silver screen. That regular kind of stuff, but it's adapted from the Gospel. I think there was actually a musical based upon the Gospel according to St. Matthew. Now, for all intents and purposes, I am not a religious person. I grew up Catholic, have been devoutly atheist for a good portion of my life. I have no interest in religion in general, but I don't mind just experiencing things towards it. I've got Jesus Christ Superstar, I've got other films and music that is religiously themed. It can be some very interesting topics of discussion. It can be very interesting in terms of just thematic framework for a film. I mean, Monty Python did a pretty good religious film. I'm pretty sure Scorsese has done a couple good ones as well, so it's there are definitely some really interesting takes on religion when it comes to films. And in this kind of film isn't the kind of one where it just shoves it all down your throat. It's more about just having community and more or less peace and tranquility amongst one another until it eventually backfires, because again, it's based on the classic, hey, Judas, no, don't kill Jesus, that's a bad thing. And no, it happens anyway. But still, this copy I got actually at Lee's treasure sale, which is the 15-track version produced in 1974. And this one is actually one I bought on eBay, which comes with all the songs from the movie, which is what I actually wanted. I wanted all the ones that sounded exactly like the movie. This one is, I'm pretty sure, a Broadway version that came out just after the film, but it has half of the same cast, which is nice, plus like 2 extra songs, which are individual solos. I'm not a big Broadway musical person, but it's just nice to know this stuff. Most of what I've learnt about the film is from the interviews and the commentary that Lee did on the disc. But yeah, so that's nice to have at least. It saved me from having to stream it a lot because that was a thing, because I really like the music. It's just really fun. And for extra context, I do also have this. This is a vinyl of Godspell, which was also part of Lee Gambon's collection. And I've listened to this, well, once so far. It's actually only got 6 tracks, which, actually no, sorry, 13 tracks. Produced in 1972, so I don't even think that this is from the movie itself. It might be from the actual, again, off-Broadway thing. It doesn't really matter that much. It's mostly the aspect of having it. I also have it in this kind of case because it's a nice display piece, but also because it's a very old record. It is an original print, and it is, like, very damaged. Not the record itself, but just the sleeve that it lives in. It's just peels off, so it's like, yeah, I'm just gonna keep it in a little protector, you know, keep it safe. It's also gold and shiny. I'm very well aware of. Wow, it's actually projecting a light onto the ceiling. That's biblical. Alright, so let's talk about the movie. We've got enough context of me enjoying the music from the film and the film in general. What do I actually think of the film? I really enjoyed it. It's like a theatre troupe that just have all the reins of the city to just perform the whole entire act on. And this is of course New York City, and it's a desolate, empty city, surprisingly clean despite the time period. It's a really interesting film. Like, it's not for everyone, but I think it's just a really unique piece of musical cinema from the early 70s. And again, this is from 73, so I definitely do not think that vinyl is from the thing. And I didn't discover that till after the fact, but Lee had 3 different vinyls, and that one I liked the artwork for the most, so I bought it. So, and the CD was just there. I'm like, the CD's $10. I'll buy the CD as well, even though none of them are from the movie. They're both 2 completely different soundtracks, which is just crazy. Isn't it great being a musical theatre nerd and having to deal with that? That's why I don't deal with that, because I'm not a musical theatre nerd. Let's talk about the picture. So, transfer-wise, it looks really nice. It is on a BD50 disc, region-free, so you can watch it on any player. Bitrate averages around the early to mid-20s. Sometimes it'll escalate to a mid-30s, depending on the scene, but for the most part, all of the scenes are usually outdoors, and even the ones that are indoors have some nice crisp blacks to them. The nighttime scenes as well, they're all still in the same average bit rate of, 20 to 25. So it's got a good, healthy enough bit rate, not overly maxed out, but at the same time, there is a plenitude of special features on this disc. If it had a 4K restoration that was put on a separate disc, it could really quite shine, but at the same time, I do think organically it looks really nice. There weren't a lot of, visual errors, no ticks, no spots of dirt or anything. It's a really nicely done print, so I had no problems with on a visual level, and it's just it captures that flair for its grainy 70s texture really well. So I do think it is a really nice visual representation for the film. Audio wise, it of course comes with that English mono DTS HD master audio, which is a 2-channel mix. It sounds good, again for a musical as well. For the dialogue pieces, you can hear it all coherently. I have no issues with anything that's said unless some of the actors have a particular accent or twang, because some of them play up in their types of characters, or they will play character upon character in a way. Again, like I said, it's a film that's almost like a theatre troupe doing a recreation of the gospel, but it's also not taken in that way as well. Like, it is taken seriously, but like in its own narrative, it just comes off to me as a theatre group doing a show, but not with too much of a tongue-in-cheek nudge, because at the same time they're trying to present a good kind of earnest perspective to this narrative, so that its more dramatic, harder hits can still hit. And I think that works. It doesn't go too crazy, but it's also just fun, hippie-ish kind of stuff, which I think just is a nice vibe. But it comes with audio subtitles, which is good. But like I said, it is a very front-heavy 2.0 mix. Apparently it was the theatrical release mixed in 4.0, but of course is not present on this mix for whatever reason. I'd say that's kind of an amusing thing now, because a lot of musicals that I listened to and watched in February, I did a whole bunch of musicals there, a lot of the 70s ones had 4.0 mixes, so I wonder if it's like a issue that might have happened with its original audio, they just couldn't get it right or something, but either way the 2.0 mix sounds good, so I had no issues with that whatsoever. And then we get to the special features, the real hard-hitting stuff. So, of course, you get the wonderful audio commentary by Lee Gambin, someone who's incredibly passionate about this film, and that shows so much in his knowledge and his research that he just devours into, that he goes into throughout the whole entire runtime of the film. It's just a really nice, it's just really nice to hear someone who has so much passion and knowledge about a film talking about it. There is a bias on his own side because he loves the film so much, but I kind of really admire that about it. He's able to utilize his own, professional perspective as a film historian, but also utilize his own personal knowledge and, emotion towards the film in that same category. So he's able to blend them both really well to make for a very interesting and compelling audio commentary. You do also have historian Carol the Gear's audio contribution, which is 7 minutes and 46 seconds long, which analyzes the music of the film and the original show, which is nice, gives some context, some perspective on the actual musical numbers themselves. Then you have the original behind-the-scenes featurette, which is 5 minutes long, which is interesting. It's both a making of and a at the premiere thing, so they'll occasionally have shots where they'll show the marketing of the film, like in big billboards and whatever. You'll have shots of them actually making the film, either an on-location thing, or hey, this is where they shot this scene and they cut to that scene, or they show the scene of them on the billboard in the Times Square, I think it was. It was one of those big billboards, and they're showing the footage of the rest of New York, just doing it day to day. You got people painting windows and all this other stuff on different sides. I shouldn't say painting windows, more cleaning windows, but some people were doing billboards and just looking over and seeing the guys doing their musical number on their, next to a big digital billboard. And it's really nice. It's cool to kind of see how they just had to do that in front of all of New York, but occasionally they would have absolutely no one in the streets and you'd be seeing this big crowd watching them do this scene. And there would be no one around them, but around the camera crew there'd be heaps of people. So I liked how they juxtaposed that. They talked about the premiere itself and how unique of a premiere it was, because it was held at a theater that wasn't a cinema, so they had to do a whole new board just to be able to project the film, plus how they had their unique after party as well. So it was just a really interesting encapsulation of that. Just a fun little 5-minute thing that usually you kind of just don't really care about it because it's usually just some offhand outtakes, but this actually had a narrator going through it all, and it's just really just nice. I don't know, I was surprised by it. Of course, it still has its usual theatrical and teaser trailer, which is fun, good, gives you some context as to how they would have advertised the film back when. And then you get to the big stuff, the cast and crew interviews. It is so insanely in-depth, I did not expect it, because I hadn't listened to these before, even when I'd done my interview with Lee back in 2022. I'd watched the film, 2 days later did the commentary, and then a couple of days later did my interview with him. I didn't even know he did the interviews on the disc until, I'm pretty sure, last year, which is just ridiculous of me, mostly because I'd been seeing some old posts of Lee's where he was talking about Godspell, because he was always talking about Godspell amongst many other films and TV shows that he was insanely passionate about. And he would mention it was when I did my interview talking to this person about Godspell, and he mentioned this, he would just pinpoint certain details like that in his posts. And you can see why, because he did several interviews. He did one with composer Stephen Schwartz, which is 45 minutes long. You have one with actress Robin Lamont, which is 33 minutes long. One with actress Katie Hanley, which is 38 minutes long. Another with actor Jerry Schroeder, which is 33 minutes long, and producer Edgar Lansbury, which is 18 minutes long. All of these are over-the-phone interviews, which just have a like 30-second slideshow of images that are just on repeat for the whole time. So you don't necessarily need to look at it, because once you see the images one time over, you understand what they're going for, but none of it relates to what they're actually saying. Like, they haven't done a huge undertaking of, oh, when they're talking about this person or they're talking about this scene and they show clips from that or anything. There's nothing like that. It's just two people chatting, because it's just Lee, who loves the film, who's incredibly passionate about it, and the musicals of the era. He did a whole book on movie musicals in the 70s, for example. And so he's one with Schwartz, for example. He delves into that kind of stuff. He even mentioned how he's wearing a Squirm shirt, another film that Schwartz had worked on. So it's just nice. It's, again, you have, if you like the commentary, you also get just this extra, I don't even know what this is. That's, what, 2.5 hours? Yeah, roughly 2.5 to 3 hours of it, just interviews of just Lee talking with these people who worked on this film that he loves. And that's just really nice. Like, as someone who, you know, big fan of Lee's work and, you know, admirer of his, someone who, you know, was a friend of his, it's just really nice just to have all this on this one disc. And I can see why Lee was so adamant about me getting this film, something that I thought was just so bizarre for what it is. And I've rewatched it a couple times since. I actually plan to watch it this coming weekend, just for the Easter weekend. I want to kind of make that a thing, because he was adamant about making it a thing, that everyone should watch Godspell on Easter weekend. And I'm not even a religious person. I'm like, I can do that. Like, it's not even a long film. It's 100 minutes. You know, it's a musical. I love the film. I love the music to it. It's just really interesting. And I think that this is a really great Blu-ray that encapsulates the film and its legacy and just everything about it. So everything that you want to know, everything that you want to learn, to have some context of the time period as well, in contrast to other films of the time, whether it be something like Hair or Jesus Christ Superstar, or even some of like the gritty, like more violent action or horror films like Death Wish and stuff. Like, there's all these great juxtapositions that Lee's able to provide whilst doing these interviews of these people, which is great. So it's definitely a really good Blu-ray if you want to get it. I would highly recommend it. I'm pretty sure it is the only version available. There's probably a DVD that exists somewhere, but the Blu-ray is perfect. So you can't go wrong, unless you don't like musicals, then you can go wrong. But at the same time, I think it's such a unique thing of its own that it doesn't really matter. But again, even Schwartz mentions in his interview how it's very unnatural for people to just start bursting out in a song. So it's already something of an undertaking to be able to encapsulate that onto a film, in contrast to a Broadway production, and how you can make it visually distinct and different. And I mean, they're on the Twin Towers at one stage. Like, before King Kong was, they were on the fucking towers. So it's an interesting encapsulation of that period of time as well. So yeah, I think it's a beautiful film and a very good release, and I'm very happy to have it in my possession. So I highly recommend it, and I'll see you guys next time. And I don't know, enjoy Easter if you celebrate, or just like chocolate because capitalism's fun. Anyway, bye. See you next time.